All right, all right. It is another good book club day over in the Grand Life Network, and we are diving into another amazing mind elevating books. And y'all know this is what we do. We come together, talk, laugh, and read mind elevating books so that we can just continue to equip our tool belts as we continue to come out here and conquer the world. And y'all know that's what we was just talking about offline. So if you want to be a part of that network, make sure you join our Discord, because we are always trying to grow that network of women that are wanting to share these tools. So it really is a great feeling to be able to get together every other Tuesday, hear how everyone's doing, and start to read these kind of books, especially because this month this was a book suggested by Miss Mimi Jacks, who is our health and wellness guru. So when she was sharing, she shared a few of her audible books here, and when I seen this one, Speak, Find Your Voice, Trust Your Gut, and Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be by Tunde, I was like, yes, that last one is calling to me. I just it had that ring to it. And then she, messaged like, hey, it's out. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. That needs to be this book for this month. And it has been just so amazing to dive into. So if you haven't, make sure you get it. It is on Audible. That is how I've been listening to it myself. I know if you haven't, y'all know it doesn't matter if you're not reading along. I'm going to kind of go over a synopsis on some lessons that we can pull out of it, and then we can all share our thoughts and opinions. And then I do have a few questions. Now, I did share those questions over in our book club chat as well, so that you can start to think about it while I chat. But the two questions is, one, what do you say to yourself when the going gets tough, and when do you feel the most genuine? So if those questions aren't as clear, they will be clear by the end of our little lesson by Tunde, by reading chapter 1. So let me also get the name of that chapter, because again, I don't want to be misspeaking, because the way she even outlined this was so amazing and had so much intention with how she wanted her readers to be able to walk away with these skills as well to speak. And imagine again how big of a tool that is, to be able to speak and eloquently have a voice and confidently put your voice out there. And that's something we all kind of have talked about on why we battle that in general. So chapter 1 is called Authenticity, the Perfect Dress. And why that name is important is because she gave a beautiful story on how the perfect dress has so much power. So I'll start by another quote that I put from out of chapter 1, where she says, "We all have a moment where we see our lives about to change. The question becomes, will we be aware when we see it?" Now, me and Mimi were just having this conversation, and I'm like, yes, that's exactly where our conversation was going today, because of how important that is with being ready for the right opportunity. One of my husband's quotes that he always reminds me is, a broken clock is still right 2 times a day. And so what does that mean? It's being in the right place at the right time and being ready to take that step to change, right? So at that point, it's like acknowledging, okay, I'm a broken clock, but at this exact moment, I'll strike, and that will be my moment to change. And you have to be prepared for that, knowing that it's coming, knowing that you're broken. And so something else she said is that uncertainty, when you're uncertain on, okay, maybe, because when I even say, the broken clock example, it's hard to acknowledge that we are broken, right? So there's just different forms of uncertainty, like, well, I know things aren't as they're supposed to be, right? I read this one pastor say, look at a person and see if their blessings really show that they're living a blessed life, kind of thing, And it's like, again, just seeing that uncertainty, again, it's like, that's where you see the possibilities for change. That's where you can grow. That's where you can become better. And so I say all that to say, again, being ready to see that change and make that change is where it becomes important. And so also you have to be ready to do the work, right? Because you are the one that's going to have to do that change. So in the story about the perfect dress, Tunde here, so she even starts with it being in high school, and she's talking about her weight and it, you know, her little brothers and her family just making gestures, because that's where it starts. You know, and you being in school, and then your friends, you know, talking about weight when you're just innocent, and then that trickling into now high school, where it's like, okay, well, yeah, as you know, younger kids, you know, now you got a bigger cousin that's, you know, talking to you a little direct, she says, where, you know, he's like, in junior high, none of that really mattered, but in high school, it's gonna matter, and people are gonna say something, you know. And it's funny, she mentioned, you know, he was saying it to try to help her, but you don't know how that kind of stuff affects people, right, and their confidence, because that's what we're talking about here, is changing that confidence and how you show up as yourself, how you start to exude this power, right, how you start to take control over those uncertain areas of your life and different things of that you feel are uncontrollable, right, but have all this power because you feel out of control of it, right? So back to this dress, where she has this dress, or we're getting to the dress. So now she's in high school and she's aware of this weight thing, you know, and she, her aunt is having a wedding, and, you know, her aunt has one of those weddings where all of the bridesmaids were going to wear the same dress, but it didn't come in her size, so she was going to have to wear a different dress. And why this was so impactful was because then her mother noticed, oh, when she just broke down crying, like, oh, she's going to have to wear a different dress because it doesn't come in her size. And here's another thing where she's going to be sticking out because her weight doesn't fit in. You know, the dress doesn't come up to that size. So she literally doesn't fit. She's going to have to stick out. And of course, they found a nice looking dress, but who wants to be wearing the other dress because they can't fit the one that all the other bridesmaids can fit. So when, you know, she had that moment, and her mother seeing like it was deeper than, oh, this is just a weight thing, and it's her feelings of having to always be sticking out because of this factor of her life, that's where she's like, you have to take control of that narrative and make it work for you, right? So now she's like, okay, well, now she's got a summer job and she's got a gym next door to it, so she's just going to do the elliptical. Did something that made her feel comfortable. She didn't go in there, got to do a whole bunch of crazy weights. Nope, she changed her diet and worked out on the treadmill and elliptical and her cardio machines every day, and lost, 30 pounds. Again, she didn't say she had to lose 100 pounds and go back to size 0. She lost 30 pounds, and that even started to attract the kind of things that she wanted to attract, start to feel more welcome in different places, and start to, again, gain that confidence that she was looking for, right? To the fact where now she's just a part of this lifestyle where it's like people are like, wow, how did you do that? I think one of my favorite parts of the story, when she was talking about this journey with her finding this confidence, you know, from her weight, was even how others were now attracted to it. Like, wow, how were you able to lose so much weight and change your lifestyle around? And she was just honored that people that she looked up to, that, you know, in high school you think this person has the perfect life because they've got all the new things, and now they're asking you how you were able to do something, and it reminds you that you have a gift here as well to give. So that's what I really loved, when the story really started to transform, because that's where that confidence really started to shine, right? Where it's like, wow, I have something more that's then again deeper than just this weight, but something that can help others start to transform their lives and their lifestyles and how they feel about themselves walking out in, you know, amongst a crowd, as simple as that. And then it continued to transform, right? Because now she then got a job at the makeup counter, and then that transformed into a purpose on, wow, I seriously love to make the people feel this way. And when you read the story, you'll be able to like actually hear more of her story and finding this perfect dress and her purpose. But that is just a really good way to kind of summarize that. And again, why it goes back to changing that mindset and changing those feelings, and you having to be the one to make that change. And I get it. It's easier said than done, right? Because that's even why one of our questions today is, what do you say to yourself? I loved when she was telling the story, and she was like, it's so easy to look back when you're thinking about, you know, your own story on how things started, and to see your high school self and think about all the things that you wish you could have told your younger self, like, oh, just show up like this and don't say this and don't do that, and you know, all the things again you wish you could have told yourself. But that's just a part of your journey, right? So and it's, imagine when you were in high school at that time, would you have even been receptive to somebody telling you these kind of things, right? So, and I think that was just, again, one of those things that you have to just take it as a lesson to say, okay, well, now is the perfect time to change. And that's even another thing Tunde said, you know, this is the last day of being stuck, because that fear that tells us to stay invisible is what keeps us stagnant. That's another quote from out of there. And these are the things that we have to, again, remind ourselves, that voice that says, you know, oh, just let it go. You know, I just need to stay in the background. That's what's keeping you in that same place, because you keep giving yourself that reason that says it's okay to dim your light, you know, when instead you can be figuring it out and living in that purpose. And that's what you're meant to be out here doing, is living in that purpose. And that's something when she really started to kind of get into more of like chapter 2 on living in that purpose. So how she even broke it up is into 5 different steps, where it says, how do you speak, right? I just told you guys this powerful title of being able to speak. And it says, speak, find your voice, trust your gut, and get from where you are to where you want to be. That's the part that I said, like I told you, I rang bells. Get from where you are to where you want to be. So when you're reading this, it's like, okay, how do you really do this, right? What does that really mean? So she broke it down into 5 different steps. So you have to be willing to surrender, know your power, lead with empathy, be authentic, and have the knowledge to back it up. And I loved, again, all of those steps, because they really embody a lot of the core principles that we have to be operating in. So again, when we say, oh, we're coming together to read these mind elevating books, to add these same tools for these people that are passing, like, hey, here's how I became successful. Here's some of the stuff that you can use as well. When we're thinking of how we want to be coming into this space, speaking and showing up authentically, these are going to be those tools that empower us to be able to do that. Because we can't be invisible for the things that we're trying to do, you know. So a lot of us are figuring out how to overcome that, and this is how. So I really was loving how she just really was breaking that down, giving her own stories and bringing it full circle with, and these are the steps on what you have to do, and ask yourself and remind yourself, be in the driver's seat of your own car. That is not a new phrase. That's something that, you know, y'all already know. I always tell y'all, we on the highway. You know, I'm in my car, you in your car. You know, I don't ever tell you I try to be a passenger seat in my car. No, you're in your car, I'm in my car. I might be up a few exits, but I could tell you how to get up here, and then you could do the same, you know. And we always use those kind of analogies because we understand that's how it is out here. You know, we're on the street. So being able to connect with these kind of books, with the different kind of mantras that I live by for myself, I know have always been powerful for me, and something that I noticed and really enjoyed reading in it. So another key thing that she mentioned was showing up as your full self and not waiting. Again, letting today be that last day that you let anything stop you, that you let any of those things that you think have power, let that power go, take that power back and re-look at it. Even when she was saying every human reaction deserves respect and compassion, reflection, right? Thinking about how what you can learn from that and what its purpose is, starting to look at the purpose in things and in your interactions and in what you're doing, even a job, as simple as that, the people that you're talking to and how you're affecting their lives and whatever that purpose is and what you can take from that moment. I think that is even a powerful tool, again, that you start to connect with in how you speak with people, and it changes how you speak with people, understanding how much more purpose you have in that moment, and that makes you even more confident as well. And with that, she also reminds us to be the gatekeeper of our peace, of our own peace, so with that, not letting those exterior forces or measures tell us what is good enough. We are able to tell ourselves what is good enough. We are the gatekeepers of that measuring tape. So as we're putting ourselves out there, reminding ourselves that we are, able to control that, so that also, it's in a healthy manner. Because that's the key of this, right? Is doing this, speaking in a healthy manner. So setting those boundaries as we're putting ourselves out there, again, is that full circle, because you also have to be able to put yourself out there and protect yourself when you do. So I was really, like I said, loving everything she was mentioning about that kind of stuff. A few of the last 2 points that I really, really liked about this section was, one, she says, if the space doesn't fit, find a new one. And I'm like, yes, find a new one, create a new one. You already know I'm in Web3 doing just that, because there's opportunity, and it's like, even as simple as fashion, I'm over here doing my thing, and yes, I'm making custom tie-dye t-shirts, but if you're telling me the only place that's going to fit is on Etsy for $20, I don't agree. So being able to create a space where I can create my own value for my own creations, like in Web3, like in NFTs, it's amazing. And being able to even take that and put it into courses and be able to show other people how to do that too, being able to find new ways. I know last month we talked about that, finding different creative solutions, financially, and just different things that we can do, finding new ways to be able to do that. So being able to, again, even start to stack on these tools, like, okay, I'm adding this tool to the tool belt. Now how can I add this screw to this lock to make the lock a little tighter, and kind of start adding on what I'm actually learning in that kind of way. And the last thing, just to summarize everything I've been saying, was an amazing quote that she pulled from a psychiatrist, which says, the purpose of life is to discover your gift, the work of life is to develop it, and the meaning of life is to give it away. And it was just amazing because, again, it's like when you're younger, they start to put that in your head, like your purpose of life is trying to find that, and how that is a journey in itself. And so being able to kind of start to dive into this book, to follow her as she's learning her own journey, being able to reflect and see the reflections in your own journey. That's why I wanted to pull those 2 questions. So one, what do you say to yourself? And that comes from that first question, where it's like, we understand the things that we wish we could have said to our younger selves in those moments, but we can't. In this moment though, when we're struggling, if we were talking to somebody else, what would you say to yourself in order to keep you motivated, in order to check yourself, in order to do, what would you say to yourself, whatever that would be? What would you say to yourself? And then again, even I know some of us have those mantras that we say to ourselves daily to kind of hype us up, but something like that as well for what would you say to yourself? And then our second question, when do you feel the most genuine? That goes into our whole part here of her talking about authenticity and finding that voice and coming up and where you are, where you feel the most genuine, where you feel the least judgment, because that's what it came down to as well, where you didn't feel like people were judging you and you had to show up as perfect, because we all have this need to show up and feel perfect, even though we've never done some of the things that we are showing up to do. And it's still, is that embarrassing, uncomfortable feeling as we're learning. So where are you when you feel that genuine comfort, ability, and doing something? So I've been doing a lot of rapping. I would love to take some time to hear Jazzy and Mimi, hear your thoughts about chapter 1, anything I've mentioned here about authenticity, about speak, those 5 pillars, with it being willing to surrender, know your power, lead with empathy, be authentic, and having the knowledge to back it up. And then to answer our questions. 1, what do you say to yourself? With whatever you're dealing with, what would you say to yourself right now for some advice? And then what do you say to yourself to keep you motivated? That's a 2-part question if you want to take that on. Or you can answer one of those 2 variations. And then the second question would be, when do you feel the most genuine? So anybody want to take the lead? Miss Mimi.
Oh my God. I love Peleton. I love Tunde. Well, I should say there's a love-hate relationship, because her workouts are crazy, but they're good. And so I was so happy, like, when you were like, yeah, let's read this, because I had it pre-ordered and I was just waiting for the release, and you hadn't like posted a book yet. So I was like, okay, let me just let her know, like, hey, it's out. So I was super excited that we could have this a part of book club, and it was so much that I could relate to just in chapter 1. Like, it was so much, and just, the family members and their opinions about things, and just things that people say that clearly tells you where they are. You know what I mean? She was so young with the dress story. And I feel like she still like stood so strong, and I don't want any special treatment. I wanted this dress, like, even though the other dress was like more beautiful, from the way that she described it in the book as she was reading the Audible, or reading the book on Audible. She, to me, like, still stood strong in, no, I want to be able to wear the dress that everybody else is going to wear, because otherwise I'm going to stand out, and it's just going to become like this attention that she didn't want. Right. So I don't know if she necessarily got that strength at first, but it was just so many things. And I think your overview of it and just how you highlighted things and outlined things was really great, Mo. So there's not much more that I could add to that. I mean, it was just a lot of things that brought things back to my memory of growing up. And, I didn't have like a weight struggle as she did, as drastic or what have you, just kind of like your normal as you get older type things. And more recently, which I've shared before, really getting mature and the whole hormonal changes and things like that. But I could definitely relate to a lot. So I'm excited to finish the book, because just from the first few chapters, like, she's so vulnerable and transparent. It really just pulls you in and keeps your attention. So
I know, I'm so excited.
To answer the questions, okay, ask me again. So you said it's 2 parts to the first one.
What do you say to yourself? So what do you say to yourself? I said you can, the 2 parts would be, so what would you say to yourself right now? Like, say you were talking to a friend and kind of like talking about like a problem, or like, what would be some advice that you would give to yourself like say for example, because I put the question from, she said it when she was talking about like how you would want to give your old high school self advice, like in that
Mhm.
kind of regard. So like right now, what would be some advice that you would give to yourself, for
Okay.
whatever you're dealing with? Because that one was kind of like hard for me to try to figure out how to phrase, obviously. I was like,
No, that's good. That's good.
okay, so you got that. Okay, yeah. So what would be some advice that you would give to yourself right now?
So right now, and I literally like daily have to just tell myself, like, get through today. Like, get the things done that you need to get done today. Write them down, number one, so that there's a plan. And just get through today instead of worrying about the future or, a few days ago and all of those things. Like, okay, what can I do today to get through everything that I need to do? And then, like, now it's towards the end of the day. So, what can I do to prepare? I have some things that's going on. And so I focus on that instead of like the negative parts of what's going on, because in that, and I had a situation, I'm not going to go into depth because it's in regards to work, but the last few weeks have been challenging. And you know how you respond to things,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when it comes to work, and especially if you work for someone else in corporate America, like, you always just have to check yourself and keep your emotions out of it. And sometimes it's hard, being a
Mm-hmm.
woman. I'm usually able to compartmentalize things, but sometimes, like, people just try
What? Because they be wanting to see what you gonna do. Like, what you gonna do if I try it?
it. Yes, and I'm like, I'm
Not
not
gonna
losing
go
credit.
there.
I'm not.
Right.
I am not gonna lose my cool and just let my emotions take over. And trust me, it's so hard. So I had to just take some steps back, and actually, like, reach out to someone who is somewhat of a mentor, at my company, and I knew that I could trust going to them and just letting them know, look, this is where I am, being fully transparent with them, but this is how I want to be able to approach it and just keep the emotions out. And we were able to, like, get through a few conversations and get through some stuff. But even with that, like, you still have to, like, deal with the beast of the thing
Mm-hmm.
and be able to take the information that you were given in the mentorship and actually, like, execute it the way that you want to. And it just takes a lot of self-control. Um, and I found myself putting so much energy into that I was losing focus on some other things. And when I was immediately when I realized that, I just stopped. I stopped myself and I was like, you know what? I haven't focused on this. I haven't focused on that. Like, let me take some of that energy and put it there. And, we talked about it. I'm not going to go into much detail on here, but, we talked about it pre-recording, and it was like an opportunity that came about. And because I was able to, like, stop and refocus, and I already had some other things coming together and that were together, previously, like, it all kind of coming together and working out. So yeah, it's just
Yes.
talking through that daily
No,
task
that's
and
a good one.
motion.
And I was gonna say that even goes into that second question for, so when do you feel the most genuine? Right? Because that's something you had
Mhm.
to kind of start asking yourself. Like, this just is, not working. So what is really resonating with you? So how did you figure out that, what fit for you? When do you feel most genuine? I know it's a hard question, but these is Tunde's
It's so-
questions. She said, "Ask yourself these questions." I said, "All right, Tunde, I'm gonna ask them."
because just automatically I was like, I'm always genuine. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
when you just read it, I took it as, like, genuine in a way that you're so true to yourself. and who you are. And I can say, like, just in the last few days, it's just being able to have, for example, I work in a small team, and, you know, the situation with what's going on at work affected not just me, but it affected the team. And so, you know, it got to a point, you know, one girl was like, you know, we need to go to HR, we need to do this, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I'm keeping my cool at first, because I'm like, you know, what, is this the thing we really want to do that on? Like, we might have bigger fish to fry later. You know, I don't know that we necessarily want to start out on this route, like, you know, and then the situation just like was poking the bear, you know, and then everybody was just like set off at one point. So we had like a mini, I would say, meeting of the minds. And so I'm hot just in this small little meeting, not amongst the problem. And I just had to be very transparent and say, you know, right now it's all about my ego. And I know it. And that's all I had to offer. Like it is my ego speaking right now. I know what you're saying is probably because we had another person kind of jump in, and she's like, you know, we really have to think about this mission and blah, 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 which I was on the day before. But this particular day, like in that moment, it was such ego. And all I could do was just admit that, you know, and I think about that as just being a real genuine moment, because that was my truth at the time. And once I said it and I released it, I could honestly like move on. And we did, like, you know, another person had to kind of put in their 2 cents and vent and get things off their chest. And then, you know, we agreed on some things. I drafted an email. We all agreed on the email, and then we were able to like move forward. So
Nice.
I would say, like, in true moments of conflict or just disagreements and just things where you're not necessarily thinking with your logic, if you can be vulnerable and transparent about that, you're being genuine to yourself.
Okay, Mimi. I'm feeling that. You.
I like that.
Yes. Okay, Jazzy, you unmuted, you hot and ready to pick it up because we coming to you next. Yes, Mimi, but I definitely think that's an amazing way to answer that question on when you feel the most genuine, right? Because it's a feeling, right? That deep feeling inside where it's like, when are you the most genuine with yourself? And like you said, in that time of conflict, when you can still come to the front and say, you know what? This is how I'm feeling, whether it's right, wrong, indifferent. It is what it is. Let's talk about it so we can actually move forward. That's when we are the most genuine. Like you said, that's where you can now actually acknowledge it and start getting stuff done. So thank you for that, Jim, and for reminding us to do that. Now, Miss Jazzy, if you have anything that you would like to kind of share about anything you've heard from the book today, anything that stuck out, anything you would like to add on, feel free to start with that. And then we'll roll into our questions, which is number 1. What is some advice you would give yourself right now?
All right. I forgot what I was going to say about the book. I didn't write it down. So I forgot that fast. But
well, hey, you could go right into the question. What is some advice you would give yourself?
So what advice I would give myself right now would be like, it's kind of like, it's crazy because it's like what I always give myself and I struggle with, like, just do it, like whatever it is that I need to do, like that I'm scared to do, or like I can feel like I have a good idea and I'm all in, and then when it comes down to something, like comes down to doing it, I get fearful or start second guessing, thinking about the opinions of other people, how how they're gonna receive it, what they're gonna say, and I just prolong things. So I feel like if I had to give myself some advice, it would just be like, just do it, get it over with. And however people receive it, they receive it, and like deal with it from there. But yeah, that's like my main advice. Just do it.
Yes.
Because if not, that fear is gonna always stay there.
And that's keeping you stagnant, right? That was one of the quotes that we have. I read out there earlier. That fear that tells you to stay invisible, not let your light shine. Stay right where you are. Else you gonna do too much. That's why you stay in there, because you're afraid to do too much, because that's what other people are gonna think, right? Like, oh, here she go again with something else or whatever that. I remember, even it still stick with me when we read that Rick Ross book, when it was just like, excuses, the worst part about them is they be sounding so good, like they sound right, like, yeah, you're right, let me not do it because of this and the third, where it's like, no, we got to just do it. So I love that advice for yourself, especially that's some of the hard advice that I think, even looking a year back, it'd be like, man, if I just would have did this on the third, think about where I would be at right now. So reminding yourself today, like, just do it for that future you moment, like, so you're not looking back at yourself wishing that you would have just done it. That's something that definitely I tell myself too. So with that, when do you feel the most genuine, right? And I guess you kind of just even heard how Mimi kind of took that answer with it, but what does that even mean to you? When do you feel the most genuine and true in your purpose?
Well, I have to do when I feel most genuine towards myself, and I feel like when I feel most genuine in my purpose. So, like, I feel most genuine to myself. I kind of agree with Mimi, but like when I self-reflect, like when I have to sit down, self-reflect, and just kind of go through like me. Okay, Jasmine, what are you not doing? What are you prolonging, postponing, procrastinating on? Like, what is it? Like when I have to sit and look at myself and take accountability, that's when I'm like I feel like I'm most genuine with myself, because it kind of eliminates those excuses and putting it off on fear, emotions, or everything. I'm shy, I'm introverted, like whatever excuse I come up with, like when I self-reflect, like I have to hold myself accountable. So I feel like I'm being genuine with myself in those moments. And then, kind of like the book said, I feel like I'm most genuine to others, like when I'm able to give something like of myself or my purpose, like whether it's like encouraging somebody, I feel like genuine because I feel like I can't encourage somebody like heavy fake encouragement, or like I just feel like you go do something, like do it from the heart and like be genuine. And that's how I always look at stuff. So like whatever I'm like giving, able to give something of value to somebody else, I feel like that's most things to other people.
Yeah. Yes. Love it. Because those really do embody what genuine even mean, right? Where, like you said, it's that intention, like, what are you really doing it for? Whether that's for yourself or for your purpose, it comes from that genuine intention. So I think that's a really powerful way to even look at that. So thank you for sharing that insight. Definitely appreciate that. And you show that, like, your whole business, right? It got your back, like you said, being able to do that any way that looks. Like you said, it doesn't matter how that looks. It's just, again, being genuine with wanting to support and doing that any way that you can. Because that looks different for all kind of people, right? So definitely appreciate you for dropping that gem in there. I guess I will kind of wrap it up with my answers for those two. Some advice I would give to myself. I would give the advice to myself on breathe and be present. Something I've been definitely really kind of being more aware on is, not being too like, you learn from the past, so you accept those lessons and you apply them and move on, right? So you kind of don't let those things like wear you down, and you're not so worried about the future and like getting to that next step that you're like missing this current moment here. So something that I would just kind of remind myself or give my advice to is to be present. Of course, that takes, like, for me, organizing and getting a good schedule and, structure. That's something that I've really been trying to get down, is, like, just mastering being able to structure so that I'm able to handle a lot of the things that I'm handling, so that I can be successful, right? Because, again, a lot of these things are just important to me. And so, with that, some advice, that would be some advice that I would give to myself, because I'm doing it, right? Everything is getting done. But like we've all been talking about, I don't want to look back and wish that I would have been doing more and could have been doing something different. And even how Mimi said today, setting those daily goals of this is what I need to get accomplished today, so that we are on track. So just giving myself that advice to just breathe, do what I can. I'm doing it. And again, just breathing, because again, I got my schedule, organizing. I got that down. Every time I need to make a new schedule, I be on it. And that kind of stuff will get done. So just remembering to take that time to get clarity, and that's even what I mean more by breathing, right? That reflecting, praying, right? A lot of times that's where like I feel the most, even this goes into my next question, which is when I feel the most genuine. And that's really for me when I'm like praying, honestly, because I feel like that's where I'm getting like a lot of the clarity that I'm looking for, right? It's just silence, and I'm kind of like listening and clearing out my thoughts and just like listening to God, and a lot of those different things that for me is where I feel the most genuine, where it's like, okay, now I've got a real true plan of action to be able to go and do the next thing. So it's important for me to take those moments, to wake up and start your day feeling grateful and setting that intention. My favorite thing is like making a pot of tea, as simple as that, because I get to add my cinnamon sticks, and if I want to add any of my other little herbs, and I want to start my little herb garden, so then I'll be getting my little herbs from there, and then I'll really take my little tea in the morning experience up a level, being present and enjoying those moments as well, because again, the future's coming. Of course, tomorrow's not promised. So that's why, again, just doing everything I can in this moment and being present, and, not so vision forward and focused on I need to get to that next step in order to feel accomplished. Like, I'm okay with what I've done in this moment, and what is coming will be even better. That's more of the mind shift that I would like to shift it towards. So that's some advice that I would give to myself, is just remembering that. And that's when I feel the most genuine. And of course, being able to pour that into other people. It was funny. I was talking to another business about how I went to college and I went to like business school, like with the ambition of, I can go and learn about business so that I can help other people that can't go to college to be able to do their businesses. And now that's kind of what I'm doing in this DeFi space, on telling people how to revolutionize their business. And even if we kind of get from the Tunde style, where it's like when I was younger, and it's like, what did you want to be when you grew up, right? I would change what I wanted to be, but I always knew I wanted to have my own business. So I will always say that, like, I don't know what it is, but I know I want to have my own business. I want to be a business owner. I always enjoyed that business of it, and being able to help other people be able to start a business as well, you know, those kind of things. So actually being able to do that and see that and help to have sessions like these where it's like, let's do something different. Let's have, you know, a phone call where we all get together and talk about books. I mean, that's not super different because, hey, we've had book clubs, but, you know, not too many people are doing it on Discord and, and these different ways where it's like, yes, we're trying it in a super, super different way, but this works, so let's give it a try and see, you know, what kind of magic can come from it. So being able to do this kind of stuff and try it out and see it and be able to continue to build with people like Jazzy and Mimi, where it's like, it's truly amazing being able to come and talk with y'all every single month, see how each of us are doing spiritually, mentally, physically, business wise, you know, and supporting each other's businesses in different ways and being able to collaborate and uplift and just support and share and then so many of the different things that we do, you know. That's where I feel the most genuine, because it's like, this is what I'm doing it for, you know, just to be able to create a network and see that, be able to hear like, oh, other people are still checking on each other and still connected even outside, you know, because they really built these true bonds with other people that got what they needed, you know, and are able to be there, because you just never know how that can be helping somebody, you know. And just like Jazzy said, I never take for granted being able to be that one that can support if I can, because you never know what that means to the next. So being able to do that is where I definitely feel the most genuine. And yeah, that was it. I should have saved my last little quote from the psychiatrist to the end, because I was like, man, when she hit us with the purpose of life is to discover your gift, the work of life is to develop it, and the meaning of life is to give it away, I was like, mic drop, you got it.
Yes. Yes, it was.
What? So I'm with you, Mimi. I'm excited to dive in and finish it. And it's a quick read. I've definitely been enjoying reading these audibles because, you know, reading a real book is definitely kind of challenging these days. But being able to take the time to listen to Audible, it's like a change in scenery, right? Like, oh, instead of I started listening when I was folding the clothes, so it's like, oh, instead of actually listening to music, let me listen to a little Audible. Let me, you know, change the scenery a bit. And to be able to listen to something so mind elevating and motivating like this, that makes you be like, oh yeah, let me go get my stuff together real quick. It's definitely great. So thank you for the suggestion, Mimi. It's definitely an amazing one. We will be chatting again in 2 weeks about the ending of it. Again, if you are not able to follow along, y'all know I always do the recap. I used to do like a read aloud. I know you can clip it, but I'm not sure if all of our platforms will strike us down for that, because we do book reviews, not read alouds. I have to be very clear that we are reviewing their book material, because we are on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Prime Podcasts, Google Podcasts, just about any, Spotify Podcasts, everywhere, YouTube Podcasts, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find the Grand Book Club. And y'all already know, I keep telling y'all we just getting started, and we a little bit in, but we still just getting ready for takeoff. They still ain't seen nothing yet. So y'all already know we are going to keep getting together. We are going to keep building. We all have some amazing things in store. Miss Mimi, did you want to add anything?
No, I'm honestly excited to finish the book, and yes, I wouldn't even be surprised if I've read it like more than once by the time we meet again.
Okay, I was thinking the same thing. This is really the kind of thing you can just have on play. It's only 6 hours, right? And that's some of the things I've noticed with Audibles too. Like, these are the kind of things you could play more than once, you know, especially you're going to pick something up that you maybe missed the first time because you walked a little too far away. And, you know, I could definitely see that too. And she's good. I could see her motivating you on the Peleton, that love-hate relationship you mentioned. because
Yeah, it's definitely a love hate.
Yeah.
But I'm motivated by her arms, so I just be like, okay, I gotta do what she say.
Okay, she knows something. She doing something right.
Right.
That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, she can back it up. Well, this has been really great, ladies. A really great conversation. I'm excited for our next one when we'll be diving into this entire process. I will drop more of the updates in the chat, but as you're reading, as you're listening, if you're catching any quotes that kind of stick out to you that you want to share, feel free to drop them in our book club chat. I know I took a couple. I'm like, I'm gonna go put this on a picture, make a cute little shebang or something, because she was dropping them gems, you know. So I'm definitely gonna be sharing some stuff, and again, excited to talk with you guys soon. So thanks for joining, all of our listeners. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe. If you want to join our conversation, make sure you do. I will drop our Discord link, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace and blessings.